Hello, uh, graduate students of 2020 of Interior Architecture and Furniture Design, Bachelor of the KABK in the Netherlands, um, and The Hague, of course. Welcome. Also welcome parents, welcome everybody that is watching this live stream. So yeah, for you, it's also interesting to know the cameras. They're all three of them. So this one is basically for Ernie and me. That one is for you guys. And that one is also for you guys when you are signing. Yeah, so please don't go with your back to the camera. Um, yeah, then I would like to do a short speech. Ernie Melligers. My name is Herman Verkerk. Also, for people who don't know me, I'm the head of department. Ernie is the theory head of the fourth year. And so we have here first group one, tracing the unknown. And I would like to ask Belle to stand on the black spot. I will remove my mask. Probably it's better. I have a gift for you, a little memory of the 2020 ceremony, the Diploma Ceremony. So, Belle, your altar for the neglected, your project, is a physical collage of elements from historic buildings and a vivid evocation of the history of these buildings, convincing visitors to share in your appreciation of these forlorn buildings. Your project features significant and meaningful transformations on different levels, from history to contemporary and from digital to physical. The beauty of your project is that you let the building speak, literally. With this project, you offer a different perspective on preservation. You see yourself as a private detective that took a deep dive into the research into 3 forgotten buildings that you then archived through your own perspective. You created an interesting altar of the neglected that works very well also virtually. The website you created is exciting and refreshing. The project creates a setting in which to view architecture not as an object in context, but as an organism. The materialization and digitalization of this archive of neglected architecture offers a way to consider recycling buildings from a different perspective, which makes the project a success.
Some words about your paper, which preceded the project, obviously. One can explore the idea behind preservation of historical artifacts or architecture through history and theory, and come up with an academic argument of its importance. This more abstract notion often becomes less evident when encountering the live urban fabric, the street. Architecture, good or bad, beautiful or ugly, mundane or glamorous, domestic or representative, is a physical manifestation of time and history necessary to understand who we are and understand our context. Buildings are alive. Such is successfully proposed in Urban Black Holes. Your paper, very nice.
Okay, then I would like to call the next graduate student, Jinxi Liu. Jinxi, you have created a very engaging and layered world, integrating food, textiles, and text as materials. You have managed to translate your associative and appealing stories into these different materials and to take your audience into your world. We are eager to be able to enjoy the multi-sensory experience you are cooking up. There will be, of course, a graduate show in September, so sometimes referring to this event. Yeah, life is fruity, tasty, but you are not a person that works with fruits. What you do is draw with noodles and create the most amazing textures for mushrooms in jasmonite. We enjoyed your drawings very much and the lively sculptures you created. We can see that you had fun making your work. Make sure that the combination of senses is communicated well and has a strong balance. If you manage to make that as enjoyable as to look at your website, it will be fantastic. You work very intuitive and your research is very visual or oriented, and you give your own meaning to the content of words. Your thoughts and the physical output starts to become a dialogue. In the actual production of your work, you are able to reflect very well on what you are making and finding the right character and details in the process. Well done.
Again, a few words in your paper. So what is it? What did I see? Started as an experiment, tryout of how to record yourself and your thoughts. This produced a collection of things, thoughts and images, and also artifacts that you cherish in one way or another. You managed to record your thoughts about this more than accurately and engagingly. The engagement is produced by the topics you selected, but also by the meticulous and consequent approach to them, displayed in the text. Maybe that's the most valuable aspect for the reader, to get to know your angle on things. The letter and the well-written entries make it more than an esoteric exercise or experiment.
So we go to the third graduate candidates for the Diploma Ceremony, Violet Lu Bautran. I hope I pronounced it well. You're very polite, I guess. In your multimedia presentation, you have powerfully captured the feeling of not having an overview. The absence of scale and relations to any outside context contributes to the uncanny feeling that fits the post-apocalyptic landscape you designed. You have succeeded in translating your imagination into an immersive experience that is completely convincing. The fictional landscape you created is both mesmerizing as uncomfortable. You can feel the texture by looking at it, which is a great quality of the digital work in combination with the models. Make sure you reach the level of your film in your installation when you translate the 3D object into a physical form. It's a strong project with a lot of potential. So exciting to see this come together to be experienced physically. And you as well, I guess.
So, storybook, pataphysics, science fiction, adventure story, and more. Exploitations of the last dogmatic man until from after the Anthropocene is all of these. Pataphysics is, among others, the science of imaginary solutions. According to its inventor, Alfred Jarry, phrased differently, it is the discipline that explores the imaginary by taking it totally serious, as you do with the introduction of your tale and subsequent narrative. The genres mentioned and the angles are all successively mixed up in an entertaining account and enhanced by a separate annotation that also indicates that there is more to this requiem for mankind. With I still down? Okay, should I start again? No.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay,
sorry, microphone was out. So.
Okay.
Take two.
So here we go again. So it's no surprise anymore. But anyway, storybook, metaphysics, science fiction, adventure story, and more. Exploitations of the last dogmatic man. A tale from after the Anthropocene is all of these. Pataphysics is, amongst others, the science of imaginary solutions, according to its inventor, Alfred Jarry. Phrased differently, it is the discipline that explores the imaginary by taking it totally serious, as you do with the introduction of your tale and subsequent narrative. Essential aspects of science fiction are the technical and or historical probability, as well as an optimistic outlook. And even though your story's premises is dystopian, it transmits a gentle and comfortable resignation to the events and proposed situation. Starting with a random encounter with a mysterious manuscript, of course, a classic adventure story beginning. These genres and angles are all successfully mixed up in an entertaining account and enhanced by a separate annotation that also indicates that there is more to this requiem for humankind. With it, you produced the content of your next venture, your graduation project. Great.
Then Laura Bosch, a graduate student for furniture design. Well, we talked about Alfred Jerry's concept of pataphysics. Let's leave that out. Yeah, you've concluded your comprehensive research process with convincing scientific quote unquote outcomes in the shape of your designs of a tapestry, a mirror, and a power source. You looked carefully at the meaning of objects and utensils from the past and the present day, the meaning they have in relation to man, time, and place. The layering and depth of the design allowed you to keep discovering, just like the archaeologists do at an excavation site. This makes the design so fitting and accurate. Small details keep opening new worlds. The way your objects came into the world, emerged out of the soil, and were harvested is genius. It adds to the humorous and quirky part of your project. We compliment you on your open, studious attitude and your detailed own handwriting in sketching and making. You did extensive research into the context and placement of the designs and made some excellent conclusions. We show respect for how you persevered despite the circumstances. Both the execution and the presentation of your project are meticulous and magnificent. Congrats.
Okay, as already observed, like previously, it is the object that definitely takes the lead, and also in synthetic reality, notes on how the artifact molds man. Man shaped by object or artifact instead of the other way around. It makes sense and is more workable than the complete speculation towards man's future and the object. One has to like this one. So here's a quote. Looking at how the object can mutate humanity and in turn be the thing that makes us human. This does imply new objects or artifacts, but old rules of engagement. Am I right? The setup in short entries works well in connection to the logic flow, in which the entries serve as building blocks for your argument and narrative. The object or artifact transmit knowledge of what was, what man has achieved and invented to evolve using his own body as tool as reference. But it also is what remains, the only thing that remains. There is no limit to what man can design as an extension of himself. And since man's knowledge about himself is limited, there is no telling. Great prediction.
Then we'd like to come forward, Daria Kozina. Your project is the result of an outspoken standpoint against the so-called safe spaces in physical and digital space. We should face our fears and anxieties. You present an evocative video translating your ideas for a kind of therapy in a coherent but mysterious manner. With your four-corner designs, you follow the phases of undergoing punishment, resistance, confinement, contemplation, and confession. Translating each of these phases into an object with a different relation to the corner. The corner became a place for deep thought, where you created several characters. Especially the resistance corner is very convincing. Besides attracting and enthuse other creatives to work with you, you have a very present and inquisitive attitude. You have no trouble going out there and connect with people, and you have a very mature project management skill in your handling of setbacks. How to go from here? We think you are one of those students that leave the academy with a project that is still in the making, and it doesn't really fit the time frame of merely 1 year. So, congratulations.
So what preceded it? The gentle terror, my glasses. The gentle terror interrogation of safe space is an intense text. Intense as if written with clenched teeth, tense nerves, and tight muscles. It suits the subject as the paper explores the experience of discomfort, uneasiness, and dread as a necessary ingredient of daily life. These experiences provide us with essential and existential encounters that prevent us from sliding into a comatose flow without any highs or lows and make us experience being alive. The paper unravels the working of this gentle terror, explores its physical, spatial, and mental context, and culminates in a manifesto-style verdict that offers a point of departure for the next step, the graduation project. P.S. The concise size and magazine layout add to the above.
Okay, next part of the ceremony is signing of your diplomas. So, Belle, I would like to ask you to come forward. Congratulations. Yes. Jinsey. Pilots, yes. Laura. And Daria.
Nobody's gonna clap me.
Beetje opzij. Ja. Three new graduates are waiting in line for the diploma ceremony. I don't know if I should repeat also what the ceremony is about, just in case it's for the graduation of the Bachelor Interior Architecture and Furniture Design at the KABK, The Hague, the Netherlands. And yeah, so we welcome Jihoon Baek, Joyce Bocker, and Kalina Lambreva. I would like to start the group. It's maybe yeah, detail. It's called a head of space, a place, and yeah, I think that's that was really a good yeah, summing up, let's say, what you were working on. So first, I would like to call Jihoon Baek to go to the black cross. Yeah, so those are cameras. So there's one for us, for Ernie and me, one for you, and one for later on for signing. So yeah, be aware that they are there. And so let's talk about your graduation project. Your final exams development shows a nice analogy with your development as a designer at the academy. Your initial tendency to make a rather utilitarian design has evolved into integrate into a more narrative approach, of which this project is an excellent demonstration. You have taken an important step by deciding not to create an integrated design, a bridge that would connect the Euromast Park and the Wilhelmina Pier in Rotterdam in the Netherlands, in both practical and symbolic terms, but establishing the connection by setting up the point in between. You've had a very fruitful process that has led to a poetic and convincing project. With your project, you bring back hidden stories of the city, where water becomes the focal point. Instead of a bridge, you created 6 iconic islands, which you didn't give specific functions, but created new symbolic meaning. The idea of working with creating identity is very relevant. Defining a certain realm of interest and being able to translate a research into a physical outcome, you achieved very well. Congratulations.
Okay, so about the paper. The structure and format of Accumulated London, Exploration of the Past, the Present and the Future, London Guidebook 2080, supplied a reader with an interesting, intriguing structure, that of a travel guide, and that suggests some argument or maybe even a scientific approach. So, you succeeded in producing some sort of version of science fiction, as was the idea, since this is one of the science fiction's mechanisms from the beginning. It provides your story with a credibility, or maybe better, an element of reality that makes your suggestions regarding London's future seem more probable. This also because of your serious reflection on the change inflicted on cities by time and the role of planning, plans, and ideology within this. So, an interesting mix between fact and fiction results in an engaging tale of a London that could be, and a reflection on the future development of the metropolis.
Okay, so maybe you can step back, and I would like to invite Joyce Bocker. First of all, our compliments for the clear introduction you can give to your project Luxotopia, resulting from years of interest in and research into heterotopia. Your project has a rather hermetic basis, founded on your observations of dislocated spaces. With this project, you aim to work with a self-defined concept in the context of the Rotterdam Zuidplein. The project relates to the research and analysis of forms of the site and the precedents of public spaces and urban voids. The design interacts with the context and raises questions about how to challenge public space. You work through multiple means, your thesis informed the design deeply, and you explore the design through an atlas of precedents, drawings, 3D collages, and an intriguing website. You developed a personal position on public space and dislocation. Now, it is time to share the plans with people who are using this outplan and get actual feedback on dislocated gaps or voids. The nice illustrations you made can help you communicate your ideas to them. Congrats.
Okay, as for the paper, Luxotopia, this location in the city is a dense and direct text, which is in line with your topic. As a concept, Luxotopia is indeed easy to grasp, equally easy to define, as you do in both travel anecdotes and their interpretations. But Luxotopia's consequences, characteristics, and conditions are less straightforward. This needs some research and reasoning. You make a good effort, quite successfully actually, and elaborate enough to, next page, successfully enlighten the reader. In other words, your explanation of the phenomenon provides enough detail. What you propose is a strong and well-supported argument for Luxotopia's existence as an omnipresent byproduct of urban developments. As such, it holds certain specific qualities within itself that are not necessarily possible in actually planned and designed fabric. These are spaces that are open for interpretation, recognizable and void of specific program. Any program presents results from coincidence, interpretation, is it really there, and improvisation. So how to deal with these places and how to maintain them with the fabrics since, because of their undefined nature, most of them disappear over time. And can one design a Luxotopia? Well, I refer to the previous.
Thank you, Ernie. And then Kalina Lambreva. Your curiosity and commitment to your self-developed material have been invaluable drivers for your process towards this graduation work, striving to develop and apply the potential qualities of a handmade biomaterial in an urban context. We appreciate your determined and hands-on research into the possible applications of your material and the translations you have made into the design that can be placed in the open air and on the facades of buildings. We see several possibilities to continue your research after graduation. With your living sculptures, you send an inherited message to the modern urban citizen. The project, which is called Inherited Knowledge, combines your interest in working on a large scale with the clear and literal impact of the hands of the maker. Your hands-on autodidactic approach could also benefit from exchange with experts in other biomaterials, as well as collaborations with industry that can refine the product technically. So, congrats.
So your paper, Inherited Knowledge, starts with a convincing description of how you came to address this topic, how you came to think of it, and how to define it as a subject. What follows is an interesting mix of observations covering architecture, knowledge, education, psychology, a bit, and more. The text is often entertaining, good, between brackets, and the observations sometimes surprising when associative, which works most of the time. You set out understanding how you, as a designer, acquire and use knowledge in relation to background, education, etc. However, this text is not so much an argument as an exploration, as it is an exploration, with a clear structure though, since you came full circle. The influence and workings of inherited knowledge are evident and omnipresent. Interesting exploration. There is no escaping inherited knowledge. That's the conclusion.
So I would like to ask you one after the other to sign your diploma. I have a little present for you. Probably you remember this very specific 2020 diploma ceremony. So first is Jeroen, please. Yes. Do I need the mic? Yes. Joyce. And Kalina. Okay, thank you. So, yeah. So welcome. I just repeat my short introduction. This is the Diploma Ceremony of the Bachelor Interior Architecture, Furniture and Interior Architecture and Furniture Design of the KABK, the Hague, Netherlands. Are you in the right place? I think so, yeah. So, yeah, first we're going to talk to you about your project, the graduation project. Ernie is going to enlighten a little bit on your thesis, and then you can sign your own diploma. Be aware of the cameras. So that one is pointing at you, and that one is pointing at you when you sign the diploma for your parents or other interested people. Yes, your chapter was called Decontaminating the System, Fostering New Habits. First, I would like to call Naira Nigrelli, I should know better now for Italian, to go to the black. Well, you know where to go. That's already good. Your project touches on something fundamental, the tension of enabling intimacy in public space. The subject is relevant and interesting, and what you say about it shows that you have submerged yourself in the topic. This project arose out of a personal drive and a need to relate to the design discourse critically. It changed as a result of the COVID-19 crisis, where suddenly the public space became even more regulated and less intimate than it ever was. Look around us. Your ambition to share these insights and convictions are admirable. A project is only successful when it provokes, is what you said in your presentation. You make quite bold statements about the role and function of designers, and you even kiss the architect goodbye. You are advocating an approach that, in your opinion, goes against the belief of design. But the world of design is already so broad and open to the various ideas you are fighting for. So it might pay off to search for a more integral and embedded approach than aggressive and a provocative one. Thank you. And progress.
Wait. There's more. In case you're interested. You are excused for the first sentence of the introduction to Kiss the Architect Goodbye, a dialogue between the art of musical composition and architectural design. Again, sorry. The link between music and architecture is old, established, and well accepted. However, what you reach for is another type of relationship, not this obvious one merely focusing on harmonic proportions and the likes. Although you address this, your focus, or better said, the point of departure, is that of time in relation to space, inherent to both architecture and music. You subsequently separate harmony and musical sound from the music production as a branch of physics, to then compare this to the creation of architecture as pure tectonics, separated from its cultural context. Things are getting interesting here. Cross-referencing music and architecture to have the former questioning the cultural guidelines of the latter. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Thank you.
Maximilian von Igel. Hi. Technicus cabinetus in Factory von Igel. You approach this project as an artist who draws while making and who doesn't make any compromises. Your narrative is your working method through a meditative process, and you did this extremely well. The result is a beautiful cabinet where you looked at the resistance of the material and where the material qualities themselves give strength by a repetition of these elements. As was your goal, your cabinet displays the process of its own making. You have succeeded in translating the theoretical basis of your research into a narrative working method. Your open-ended process started with a collection of many samples of produced artifacts and materials to form a library as a basis for the next step in your process. The Corona crisis forced you to alter the process to work with the very limited means you had to your exposure during the lockdown. Turning an old computer inside out, a digital as well as physical cabinet of curiosities, and recomposing its innards was a nice sidestep, showing your abilities as a creative mind and designer. Congratulations.
It's The hand mentioned in the subtitle of Mental Mentality, the value of the hand in the industrial age, does not signify a reactionary nostalgia for craft as such. It is just this open approach to the emergence and the importance of the machine displayed in your paper that evokes the reader's curiosity. Using metal, the material, as the material trigger, the physical manifestation and the metaphor for this technical evolution, the paper makes up an alphabet of relevant techniques, or maybe still appropriate, the cabinet that you originally envisioned. This cabinet is a physical, material proposition and a non-physical narrative. Together they present a body of knowledge, personal and universal, that will be celebrated and extended in your graduation project.
So next up, Naomi Ross. For your graduation projects, you have taken an interesting position in which, as an individual designer, you relate to the major problems the world is facing now. Compliments for the design attitude you have embraced and embodied, in which reciprocity is central. In your way of working, you have tried and succeeded to bring together the cyclical concept of time and rituals from the East with our Western ontology. You took a spiritual, holistic approach in your project, where you followed certain rules and gave back energy and matter to the surroundings as a gesture to have a fair relationship with nature. Because of COVID-19, you worked remotely in the Alps and learned how to felt, or learned how to felt more, probably. We admire you for digging deeper the longer you stayed and worked there. How can you make sure this works as an example and is understood by your environment and it doesn't stay romantic? How can it contribute toward a bigger shift in capitalist production on a large scale? These questions show the potential of the project. You question your own motives and you do a lot of reading and writing. You tried many avenues, did experiments, changed direction when necessary, and you came up with satisfying results. Thank you for sharing your project with us.
Okay, as for your paper or thesis, it is somewhat of a tour de force to explore a visual observation of something seemingly haphazardous that one suspects to have a significance and curb it into a structured research. But you did well. To succeed at this, you divided the symbolic and energetic, turn the page, power of functional shapes from coincidence to the emergence of order in three parts addressing the question of working with forms. Working from form and function via form and representation to form and energy, you led your narrative from the generally familiar to the esoteric, which works both ways. It provides the more speculative and spiritual with a firm foundation, and the widely accepted and reasoned with new angles. The strongest point of your paper is that you grant credibility to the fact that visual similarities of otherwise unrelated objects or artifacts can signify a metaphysical connection.
Okay, then I would like to ask Rowan de Graaf to stand on the black cross. When a person passes away, it leaves stuff. The relationship between objects and their users is difficult to remain when this person is no longer there. With your project, it used to be, you have sought to preserve memories of deceased loved ones, while at the same time adding value to the objects in today's disposable society. You collected objects that were personal memories and turned them into social objects. You succeeded to load these three new inherited objects into new objects with symbolic meaning. You've managed to apply more layers in the transformations you've made to the objects. If you continue this project, we advise you to move away from the serial approach and approach the objects more as unique items with more sensitivity to the personal stories that you want to convey. You will succeed. Congrats.
Okay. So what preceded it was the paper, and it has the same title. It used to be a research into the relationship between people and used object. Great title, and the assumptions that started off each chapter still work well. These short contemplations, or observations actually, position the reader to engage with different angles exploring our relationship with used object. A relevant subject in this day and age, but you take obvious topics such as sustainability and circularity as a given inherent to this relationship and move beyond to address the direct relationship we can have with such objects. To do so, you first identify the difference between things and objects, with the same affective flair that characterizes the rest of your text, connecting theoretical cues with anecdotes and engaging reflections. You seem comfortable with the subject, and that pays off in this plea for recognition of the narrative that used objects can share.
Thijs de Weert. The Keep, your graduation project, is a local open source platform that works on a 3-kilometer limit. Even your website and presentation were made by this rule. Compliments on your original and clear presentation that matches the spirit of your project. You aspire to connect and build a community of people who can and want to contribute to a more sustainable world. It's a highly relevant project in regard to the current environmental situation. You have combined a good dose of activism with an openness to dialogue with others and used their feedback for the development of your project. In this way, you have succeeded in realizing a difficult goal: to convince people of the need for low-tech solutions to the climate problem. And through the accessible platform you have set up, you've put your heart and soul into this project with great results. And during COVID times, you even built a wooden open source windmill on the beach. Well done.
One cannot be anything but sympathetic to the point you are making in your paper. As the title, The Eternal Ascent, notes on the peril of growth with a desire for matter, indicates, it combines a personal quest and a reflection on the present role of design within the neoliberal economy, with a plea for a reassessment of what we know, what we have, and what we can. The result is a proposal for the use of design as a tool to actively engage with the present situation on all levels, from environmental to social. Designers shouldn't merely create, but also, and more overly, act, seeking a more militant agenda. You explore this vision with rigor, but also a bit of rigidity, but that fits the manifesto aspect of this text. Thanks.
So now I invite you all to sign your diplomas, one after the other. And there's a little present for me, the little mask. Maybe it comes in handy. So first, I think it's Naira. Yeah. And Max. Yeah, no, you can also go back what you want, what you like. Don't be choreographed. Thank you. Congratulations. Naomi. Rowan. Yeah, so that's the good thing about staying here together, so you can have an applause. Huh? Congrats. And Thijs. Yes. Okay, then now it's time to move on. So thanks, see you later. Yeah. So we continue our If you record, yeah, sure. Yeah, but then now you have to be silent, huh? So, yes, for the next group of the Diploma Ceremony, for the Bachelor Interior Architecture and Furniture Design at the KABK, The Hague, the Netherlands. It's the group Locating Interrelations. And first, I would like to ask Jeanne to step a little bit forward. By the way, there are cameras all around, so it might be handy to sometimes look at the camera. The project, Emotional Restroom, originated from your long fascination with the psychology and experience of light and color. The presentation of the project is an eclectic combination of physical and digital collages, where you researched the impact of these atmospheric ingredients of space. You even sometimes disagreed with wheels of color and give your own interpretations. You've adopted the Bauhaus style of exercises and experiments into actions of folding and lighting and connecting these to emotional experiences. You experimented with different light intensities and materials. Compliments on the thoroughness of your approach, developing a toolbox and working through all the design steps. Congrats. And he also has also a little
about your paper. Stay there. Yeah. Okay.
Talk about
a few
thesis.
words about your paper. Yeah. You started out circling your subject before finding your angle. The personal approach works. Your enthusiasm for the subject radiates from the text. Lively conveyed observation mixed with carefully supported observations and reasoned conclusions. Thus, you succeeded in producing a personal text, subjective in a good sense, that is associative and interpretive, and still rooted in research. Your subject clearly benefits from this approach and mindset. Spaces of atmosphere through color, is a meandering tale, following a playful structure that picks and chooses elements and aspects from the subject that are important to you and your practice. This culminates in a useful conclusion, useful between, like, a conclusion that you can put to work in the next phase, the graduation project and beyond.
So next up is Clémentine. She's not here, but maybe she is like watching the streaming. So yeah, we did want to include her in the projects. Clémentine, you have succeeded in bringing all the ingredients of your project together on the website. A digital and interactive map in which your intentions, research, and the whole process of making and reflecting are integrated. The escape you sought by simply starting the project with your hands has not prevented you from going into depth and reflecting on what you were doing. Your project demonstrates incredible freedom of craftsmanship without craft being an overly important element. The virtual is limitless, and bringing the carpet into this domain is a very clever and interesting step, ensuring your project can live on. In your project, your process was like a flying carpet. COVID-19 didn't make this an easy progress, but you managed this hurdle very well and created an interesting balance between an interactive digital map and a crafted grid. The carpet becomes an imaginative space and journey which becomes visible on your beautiful website. Congratulations, Clémentine.
And as for your paper, the production of Love in Space started with some hiccups, but that was worth it, as it turns out. The paper is a well thought out exploration of the representation of love in space, but as such, the subject is almost unimportant. It is a case, a carefully selected subject, to research a somewhat bigger and broader theme, that of representation. As you state in the introduction, you feel a huge discrepancy between the representation of something and what it actually is. You want to discover what it really is, beyond its representation, its metaphysics maybe. This quest for what you call the invisible makes for an engaging tale, funny at times, but also laced with suspicion, a fear of being cheated that is uncanny, but does add to its depth. This paper is more of an investigation of a method, a way of working and approach than that of a subject. And it is fruitful. You do deliver an engaging survey of love and space, as well as a research structure that you can repeat, exploring other themes and subject. The strategic choice of to use graphic and typographic hint as part of this method works well and is something you should be willing to re-employ, adapted to other situations and research. Great.
Okay, then we follow up with Vlada Naletkina. She's online. Hello, Vlada. Hi. So for your graduation project, compliments on the commitment and good energy of this highly personal and brave project. Brave in the sense of declaring love to the undesired children of communism. In the objective and very systematic world of the Soviet panelkas, you have found personalized elements, objects that can help you to attach these buildings and their environment emotionally. Your initial approach was intuitive, fueled by your personal experiences and associations, and this commitment to your subject has been very productive. With your research, you've already discovered some interesting stories that you've captured vividly in your thesis and your video. This project offers so many starting points that we believe there are many opportunities to explore the subject further in the future. The decorative facade cutouts that miraculously adorn the panelkas are amazing, both in their expression and prefabrication methods. Congrats.
So about this paper or thesis, it was the title that brought it all together. A letter to the building number 3 exactly identifies the experience or feeling the encounter with this building provoked with you. Or was it the picture you took of the building? That's just a detail. To avoid any misconceptions, your curiosity was not the inanimate qualities of the Soviet panelkas, but the meaning conveyed by their strangely familiar and comforting image. Retracing the phenomenon's history, you highlighted a wide range of aspects connected to this enormous housing production while staying close to your direct and as associative fascination with this architecture's appearance. Thus, you unfold the official and the unofficial history of the panel building, its role in urbanism and its connection to the outside, that is, the rest of the world. Still, the essence of your quest remains the ultimately humanist aspect of these, I have to turn my page, of these buildings and complexes, enabling individual narratives and representing home, comfort, and safety, reaching beyond nostalgia. You made a convincing and engaging case. Thanks.
Okay, then we go to Mila Baumann. Maybe you can walk to the black cross. Hi. In flow state, the title of your project, your graduation project, you looked at how your surroundings, your body, and your mind become each other's equals by movement. In your spiderweb installation, you focus on the essence of the flow state by synchronicity in movement between the human body and the object. The reference to the circus is super interesting and adds an extra dimension to your project. The beautiful video and website bring the project to life and allow the viewer to experience the installation almost physically. The authenticity of the concept comes from a thorough analysis and personal fascination and experience in improvisation techniques. You manage to harvest this knowledge, make spatial translations, and generate new relevant data, all in one flow. Flow state is also a technically challenging project, and you performed a miracle considering the current circumstances, COVID-19, social distancing, that it could be realized without descoping your ideas. So, well done, congratulations.
So, returning to your paper, which preceded it, like, our body seems a mystery for the mind. Can design bring them closer together? Was the question you started out with. The genesis of a dialogue between body and mind was an astonishing process. To answer your existential and essential but broad question, you embarked on a research trail that was meticulously methodical, but still left enough room for hunches, coincidence, and serendipity. You managed to keep an open mind that led to an engaging argument supported by all sorts of possible sources, views, and knowledge. The open mind was essential since the topic you addressed required you to explore aspects of psychology, neurology, cultural history, and topology, as well as the regular design theory and practice. Thus, you developed an understanding of the interaction between mind, as in mental, and body, as in action and perception, that helped to strengthen you in your conviction that design can initiate this interaction. And these experiences provide us with crucial opportunities to understand our body and connect to the mind by combining the intellect and the traditionally defined 5 senses into an amorph and adaptive perception in which all receptors, so to speak, reinforce and influence each other. Quite a task that was, but it worked. Well done.
Yeah. Then I would like to ask Mente de Clue for the black cross, the red cross. Your project, Choreographic Encounter, started from the ambition to translate architecture into dance, and you have chosen the Amara building on a construction in The Hague as a subject to express the physical and mental power of buildings. You generated new meaning by reacting to architecture through dance, and we'd like to compliment you for this audacious and authentic approach, which yielded interesting and convincing outcomes. You analyze and communicate the progress of your research in a very clear way, and your capacity for listening and reflecting on feedback and discussions open doors to your abilities. You act on your ideas, involving a number of people to go with you, and you inspire them by your actions, expressing empathy and determination, creating a flow in the creative process. You work with your choreographic skills to design a performative building, and by doing so, you embark on an inventive journey. Congratulations.
Returning to your paper, or thesis, the choreography of power takes off with the strong example of Louis XIV dancing his claim to power and territory in the 13-hour ballet à Royal de Nuit. It sets the tone, the use of the body, of movement, and the space of space to represent an actively established political power. You continue your analysis with Louis' further masterful and conscious manifestations through architecture, etiquette, and protocol before moving to an intriguing set of additional analyses. All cases that supplement, connect, or continue on the first characteristics of this mechanism deduced from Louis' propaganda. The fact that you dare to dive into history, into the past, and move from dance via urban design to parades certainly adds to the depth of your research and reveals the older roots of habits and rituals in the present day and age we often take for granted. One gets the impression that you could have continued much longer and further, since your story make all sorts of possible cases come to mind that connect in one way or another to the conclusions of your investigations. And then it says, well done, but it was quite obvious, no? Yeah. Thank you.
Well done. Okay, then I would like to ask you one after the other to sign your diploma. I have a little present for you in case the second wave will engulf us, which we don't. We hope it doesn't. So first, Jean, please. Then Vlada, but yeah, sorry, you can't sign, maybe virtual. We keep it for you. Clementine, of course, also sorry that you cannot be here, but also understandable actually. And then Mila. En mensen. Okay, so now I invite you to go to the courtyard together and we'll meet there. Yeah? Okay. Ja, klaar voor groep 5. Take 5, groep 5. Hello, graduate students of the Bachelor Interior Architecture and Furniture Design of the KABK in The Hague, the Netherlands. 2020 graduation year. Your group was called Adjusted Arenas, Articulated Routines. And first I would like to say something about Lisa's work. So maybe if you could go to the black cross. Compliments on the consistency, commitment, and good energy of this highly personal and suggestive project. In your graduation project, Dwelling in Motion, you propose a new type of dwelling based on the human body, skeleton and cell membrane, transformed into spatial design. The elements you have designed are no longer objects, but spaces that connect with the surrounding spaces. The film you made presents the potential of the design very well, with intriguing breathing, squeaking and crushing sounds of the materials used, which are of course designed to sound like this. The breathing of the membrane being alive, or imagining to be alive, is an essential asset of the project. You illustrated the build-up and different modular elements of your design with beautiful and concise line drawings that were used as a sort of manual in the website you made to explain the project. Congratulations. And Ernie will add something on the thesis.
So, Dwelling in Motion, the evolving boundaries of domestic programs, is an engaging attempt at exploring what we want from and what is a domestic environment. Based on analysis of examples, in other words, cases that answered to new ideologies and ways of living through new concepts for dwelling. It tries to understand how we can reinterpret our needs within new and existing architecture. As part of thematic chapters, the cases and sub-conclusions build up to a conclusion with cautious statements and some open questions. A stepping stone to further research that could also incorporate fewer classics. In other words, more recent cases. There's still work to be done in that sense, like don't leave it. This is a good start for a more extended project and research. What do you think? Question mark.
Okay, then we go to Agathe de Klerk. Hi. You have succeeded in developing a potential in your proposal into pragmatic design for public gardens in Moerwijk, The Hague, making good use of the information obtained through various visits and research into the location, despite the current crisis. Your design forms a concrete link between the potential of the park and the needs of the different residents in the surrounding flats. You looked at Quarter Moerwijk in The Hague as a multifunctional place. In Grow Your Quarter, the title of your project, you investigated how to foster living together. Your work is less of a philosophical one and more of a pragmatic one. There's nothing wrong with just designing a nice space for social inclusion. On the contrary, it's very necessary in our times. Congratulations.
To continue on the same subject, which is also the subject of your paper, you show a refreshingly gentle approach towards your subject, which in itself is not uncontroversial. Social housing has a bad name, and your push to recognize its beauty is appreciated. Collective housing, a micro-city in the city, keeps up this sympathizing approach to the subject while tracing its history from the utopian experiments of the 18th and 19th centuries via the massive project of the 20th to its problematic position in the present. You are willing to put up a defense and see the beauty in trying to establish comfortable habitats for, with essential amenities through the collective organization. You make a brave attempt for this case. You have come a long way, but you can actually continue if you want, because the one thing missing is what you did in your graduation project, which is the connecting factor of the green, the garden, whatever you have. So it is solved, but you can go on. Thanks.
Then Christina Palikari. Hi. Hi. With the House of Comings and Goings, the title of your project, you have designed a space where nomads and residents of Berlin can meet. The idea of being able to do something yourself or to have responsibility is central to this project. Compared to the previous presentation, you have taken considerable steps. On the one hand, you have limited your ambitions and the complexity of your project. You now show a rather complete plan for a communal-led meeting space up to the level of the practical organization of this shared space. We recognize an affinity with social design in your working method. Your project is not about the actual design of this space, but more about the programming of the space and how this space can add to its community. The embedding in the Berlin urban fabric is good, particularly as it connects with the real local initiative. Congrats.
So the atmosphere of this text is a little bit different because this is a jury report, or actually a suggestion to the jury, because Christina's paper was nominated, is our nominee for the thesis award, which is going to be dealt with later. So again, the atmosphere is a little bit different, more distant, but I hope you don't mind. With Consuming the World, Christina Palikari delivers a gentle critique of the historic hardcore wanderlust, the quest for supposed authentic and exotic experiences, celebrated by her and a lot of her contemporaries. She dissects this phenomenon as well as its lineage and context after establishing herself first as such a full-fledged global nomad. Her well-researched and effectively sourced exploration results in an engaging and meticulous analysis laced with some striking observation and novel conclusions. This between brackets, portrait of the leading character is followed by a reflective reconnaissance of our globalized world, in other words, civilization, after which the account culminates in a spot-on case study of Berlin as an epicenter of global nomadism. The paper's clear and efficient structure supports a cleverly constructed argument that addresses and explains the generic aspects of the global nomad's compulsive drive to complete a bucket list. It is also more importantly allows Christina to understand and define how to curb this phenomenon into something meaningful by acknowledging the potential to root and connect anywhere, something that remains relevant even beyond the present conditions. Zooming out, Christina has produced a social cultural exposé that is of obvious relevance to the architectural and urban discourse and contains the fundamentals for an exciting graduation project. Thanks.
We of course cheer if you will win. We will hear it shortly. Then there's Agathe Brunel. Yes, it again. Agathe, yeah, sorry that you cannot be here, but still, I would like to propose, yeah, definition of your graduation project. With your project, Agathe, you demonstrate what architecture should be about, to be able to facilitate life. You have managed to transform your dislike of the French pavilion housing type. You zoomed in on everyday life and found, for instance, a lack on the interaction between neighbors, into a type of collective housing that is concentrated around a shared kitchen and garden. We admire the fact that you have been able to translate your fundamental principles into an attractive, normal new design for living together. Through the kitchen and the garden, you evaluate local culture and housing in France. By taking up the fundamentals of this traditional architecture, the housing is not so much isolated from the surrounding landscape, but it blends in. Congratulations.
And as for your paper, we had some fun there. Because you have a satanic sense of humor, if I may say so. So here we go. An unwelcome homecoming, that is, as far as the architecture and urban design are concerned. The world of the French pavilion explores the relative cheap, serialized detached building type that has spread itself over the French suburbs and countryside like a generic fungus. Written with sharp humor and sarcasm, the paper explores the genesis, the background, and the characteristics of this phenomenon, and identifying it as a problem on several levels, ranging from build quality to its negotiation of the place and time, the genius locus. The analysis, laced with personal observations and experiences, works towards a conclusion that is a cross between an anti-manifesto and a design brief. Thus, reformulating your dislikes with the pavilion as point of departure, breaking with the status quo. Well done.
So then I would like the persons here to sign their diploma. First, Lisa, please. En Agathe Clerc. Okay, you could go to the courtyard. We will meet you there to celebrate. And so thanks for watching. We will miss our graduate students enormously, of course. So we still have them until September, where there is a graduation show here at the KABK. So if you have time, please join this beautiful festival. So, bye.